For Complex News, I'm Natasha Martinez. On April 1st, 2020, it was announced that Tekashi 6ix9ine's time in prison finally came to an end. Daniel Hernandez officially left the Queens Detention Facility, a privately owned prison in Jamaica, Queens, at 2:30 p.m. the following day, and it's all due to the coronavirus pandemic. After some back and forth between Judge Paul Engelmeyer and 6ix9ine's legal team, it was decided that the safest thing to do for the rapper was to let him serve the remaining 4 months of his 2-year prison sentence from home. 6ix9ine has a long history of asthma, putting him at high risk of serious complications if he contracts COVID-19. So essentially, he's going to be self-quarantining at home like the rest of us. According to the order of his release, 6ix9ine is going to have someone checking in on him regularly and will have a GPS ankle monitor. He's also ordered to not leave the house unless he is visiting a doctor or one of his lawyers. Luckily for 6ix9ine, he got out before experiencing any symptoms related to coronavirus, unlike fellow rapper YNW Melly. On the very same day that 6ix9ine was released, it was confirmed that YNW Melly, born Jamel Demons, had tested positive. Melly has been awaiting trial at Florida's Broward County Jail since February 2019, and on April 2nd, his official Instagram confirmed that he in fact has the virus. The post read that he would be seeking an early release, much like 6ix9ine's, in order to receive proper treatment. He'll be filing a motion for restricted release in hopes of better care due to any jails not being prepared to treat this new virus. He hopes for your support and to recover soon. #pray for Melly. Send positive energy to him, please. Melly's lawyer, Bradford Cohen, who also represents Kodak Black, has been extremely vocal on Instagram about how unprepared the prisons are when it comes to properly defending their inmates. It's a scary situation for all inmates in the jails, as I believe most jails think they can handle this outbreak, and my opinion is they cannot. Jails and prisons need to get ahead of this curve if it already isn't too late. Cohen shared an article that confirmed that Melly is one of the first Broward County inmates to test positive for COVID, and he offered an update on the motion he filed for Melly's release, saying, "We are waiting to hear from the judge regarding the release of Mr. Demons to receive medical care and treatment. Supplemental motion was filed today detailing the jail having Mr. Demons share a cell with another COVID-19 positive inmate. This is not recommended by any medical physician. The jails and prisons are not prepared to handle this crisis. Rules on alcohol-based hand sanitizer and wipes must be lifted at a bare minimum. Inmates are passing trays, jail phones, and shared items that are not sanitized when passed between inmates." Cohen hits the nail on the head by pointing out that jails are not prepared for this pandemic, and the fact that 6ix9ine has been released, and potentially YNW Melly will be as well, is a luxury that many prison inmates may not experience. In an op-ed to the New York Times, editorial writer Mara Gay made the case for nonviolent offenders, medically vulnerable inmates, and inmates who are near the end of their sentencing to be released in an effort to protect them from the virus and offer them and their families the same rights that we at home are experiencing during this difficult time. In her article, she included letters from loved ones of inmates who are now subject to extreme risk due to the lack of preparation from prisons around the nation. One woman in Alabama pleads with the New York civil rights lawyer to take action. The heartbreaking letter reads, "I do not get much sleep. Every day and night, I email and research, and no one has been willing to listen to me or help us. I've recently contacted the CDC in an effort to save lives at Kilby Corrections, where there are 2 cases just a dorm away from my loved one, who unfortunately does have underlying health conditions. If there's any way you could possibly just draft a letter, I'd be willing to pay. I'd pay nearly anything. One letter from you could change the outcome of our lives, and so I firmly believe that you are my last hope." The desperation coming from this anonymous woman is a direct reflection of the seriousness that our prisons in America are facing during this pandemic. According to the New York Times, there are nearly 175,000 people being held in federal prisons across the country, and many hundreds of thousands more in state and local prisons and jails are already sick with the coronavirus. Corrections officers who work in the facilities are also failing ill. Conditions at Rikers Island in New York are especially critical. The top doctor at the prison is saying that the jail is a public health disaster unfolding before our eyes. Ross McDonald, the jail's chief physician, confirmed last week that the cases at Rikers had soared from 1 to nearly 200 in just 12 days. In an effort to help slow down those numbers, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio ordered for about more than 300 inmates on Rikers Island to be released. All of these inmates are serving less than a year-long sentence for misdemeanors or nonviolent felonies. De Blasio also said that he is working with the district attorney and New York State to release 800 inmates who are above 70 and or with pre-existing conditions. He also adds that no one jailed on domestic violence or sexual offense charges will be released, stating, "We are not prepared to release them at this time." However, 5 district attorneys and 1 special narcotics prosecutor from New York expressed their high concerns about releasing those inmates. At this point, the seemingly haphazard process by which at-risk inmates are identified and the reports that those released may include violent offenders are creating a public perception that our city's jails may be incapable of providing sufficient health care for the remaining population of inmates. The letter reads, noting, "We believe this perception is wrong. In short, we should not have to make release decisions that we know will put communities at risk." Other sources tell the New York Post that de Blasio is jeopardizing the public by releasing, quote, the worst of these inmates, and that at this time the public needs to be assured, not scared, about what Mayor Bill de Blasio is doing. Chief Physician Ross McDonald responded saying, "The only part of the letter I can speak directly to is their failure to appreciate the public health disaster unfolding before our eyes." The disaster that is unfolding was recently told through the eyes of Taxstone, who himself sits inside Rikers. The podcaster Daryl Taxstone Campbell is currently behind bars after pleading guilty to federal gun charges. He faces up to 20 years in prison, but from the looks of a letter he wrote on Twitter, he believes he is sitting in his grave at Rikers. I wish I could read all of his letter, but I'll leave you with his few words about what it's like to not only feel like a sitting duck in the middle of this deadly pandemic, but to also feel like he has completely had his rights taken away by New York lawmakers. How are we being infected if we've only been in contact with the civilians? Easy, because they have it. I also see people are being released because of this deadly virus. Then I see the head of corrections stating not to release people charged with murder, rape, or robbery. Like it's okay for them to die. These same men told me people were innocent until proven guilty. But who made you the judge, jury, and executioner? On April 2nd, a bill passed by Governor Andrew Cuomo will reverse previous law changes, allowing over a dozen crimes to again be eligible for cash bail. These crimes include grand larceny, burglary, sex trafficking, promoting obscene sexual performance of a child, and more. This will surely flood the prison system more and reverse any effort to keep the spread of coronavirus at bay, which is exactly the issue pointed out in Taxstone's haunting letter. What is your opinion on how this is being handled? Sound off in the comment section below, and for more on this and all of your other news, subscribe to Complex News on YouTube. For Complex News, I'm Natasha Martinez.